Hey everyone, welcome to Module 6. This week we're going to talk about the existence of God. So, before we go any further, let me ask you to step back and consider the contexts for this. Our focus in this course is almost entirely on Western philosophy, that relating to Europe and largely aimed at the last several hundred years. In some ways, this is problematic, and in some ways, it is helpful. It's helpful to narrow our focus because it helps us control the amount of information that we have to process. We do have a little justification for our choice in focus because the tradition in describing the origins and development of U.S. society has been to associate it exactly with this particular time and place. At the same time, we should recognize that we are narrowing the focus, and that means we're excluding many other viewpoints associated with other parts of the world and different time periods. Practically, we should recognize that many influences have impacted the US, and these are not exclusively European. So, come at this week's discussion with an awareness that we're looking at this problem through a particular lens, which is purposefully limiting. We're drawing some boundaries and we're working within those limitations as an exercise in philosophy, not because those boundaries and limitations reflect the reality of history. Our work for this week exemplifies the narrow view that I'm talking about. It asks you to consider the paradox of a world created by an all powerful but loving God, where, nevertheless, bad things happen to good people. Needless to say, in order for this exploration to make sense, the God we're talking about pretty much has to be the one associated with Judeo-Christian sources. And what I want you to recognize is that this is not because Christianity is by default right or the only appropriate focus for learning, but because we are largely studying philosophers from a place and time when practically everyone was involved in the Judeo-Christian viewpoint. As the readings in the book point out, some other conceptions of God make the supposed paradox we're talking about into nonsense. I also want everyone to understand that our purpose in this discussion is not to change personal faith. It really is intended as an academic inquiry into an exact problem that has troubled people trying to make sense of the world for literally thousands of years. Lastly, because the subject of religion is personal, I want to remind everyone to keep up the professional tone in your responses to one another. It's very important. Now, our work for this week. We do have just the discussion. This week, you can expect to see my comments on your prospectus by the end of the day on Thursday. In the meantime, it would be a good use of your time when you have just the discussion for this week to start drafting the essay for our milestone project. Remember, that is due at the end of Module 7. If you have a start on it now, you can then use my comments from the prospectus to help shape your revisions on the essay, and this will offer the best results for the project. All right? So, if you have questions on anything, I say this every week, but I mean it. If you have questions on anything, please let me know. All right? We're getting up to the big payoff for this class. We have our big project due at the end of next week. You've just done the prospectus. I'm going to be getting you feedback on it. If you don't understand what I'm saying, if you'd like more clarification, if you want to run anything by me, let me know. Give me a text, send me a letter, do something to get my attention, ask your questions, we'll talk it out, and we'll get this together. All right? So, until next week, I'll say adios.